In this lesson, we're going to take a look at the connectors, the external connectors, on a PC notebook system. Let's take a look. Understand as we look at this that different notebook manufacturers might use a different arrangement or different placing of these different external connectors. They might not even include some of these external connectors. PCs tend to be very well standardized. Notebook systems, on the other hand, tend to be somewhat more proprietary in nature. However, this particular notebook system does a really nice job of giving us a general overview of some generic connectors that you're likely to find on most notebook PCs. Let's start over here on the left. These over here are actually the fans that are used to cool the CPU and the RAM and the other components inside the notebook case. This connector right here is the power connector. It's used to connect our PC system to a transformer, which is in turn connected to your 110 volt wall outlet. This connector right here, if you look at it, says, wow, that looks a lot like a PS2 mouse or keyboard connector, a mini DIN connector. And you know what? You're right, it is. This is your standard PS2 mouse or keyboard port using a mini DIN connector. Now you'll notice right up here that it has a label for both mouse and keyboard, yet there's only one port. On a desktop PC system, we have two, right? One for the mouse, one for the keyboard. Well, with a notebook system, you can use this for either one or both. What you'll have to do is purchase a special adapter that has one mini DIN plug that goes in here, and then it splits and has one connector for the keyboard and one connector for the mouse. The next connector right here is our video out. A lot of folks use their notebook systems as desktop systems as well. Makes for a very portable working environment. So we have a video out connector here that we can use to connect to an external desktop monitor. This next connector is your docking bay connector or your port replicator connector. As I said, many folks like to use their notebook system as a desktop system. It allows them to work at their desk at work and do whatever they need to do. And then if they need to go somewhere, such as travel to a meeting in a different city or maybe take work home for the evening, well, they can just simply unplug, take their whole system home without having to drag anything. The port replicator or docking bay makes it really easy. If we were to use an external mouse and keyboard and an external video monitor by connecting them in right here, before we could do that, we would first have to unscrew everything and unplug everything and before we could take it home. And when we brought it back, we'd have to plug everything back in before we could use it as our desktop system. The port replicator allows us to simply slide the notebook system into a docking bay, which is already connected to the monitor and the keyboard, use the system, and when we're done, we simply undock it from the docking bay, and we can go. It makes it a lot easier. You don't have to play with all these thumb screws and pull everything in and out when you want to move the system around. The next port right here is our parallel port. It allows us to connect our notebook system to a parallel printer. We also have a serial port right here. By the way, these are disappearing very quickly from notebook systems. You may not see these for very much longer. This serial port allows us to connect a serial device to this particular notebook system. It could be a serial printer, could be a serial modem, could be a serial mouse if you happen to still have one. These connectors over here are USB connectors. This particular system provides two USB ports. Now we've just looked at the back of a notebook system. With a notebook, we try to cram as much stuff as we can. There's usually connectors on both sides and maybe even the front of the notebook system as well. Let's take a look at this one. Now the first connector over here on the left is an integrated network interface. Instead of having to install an interface card to connect to a network, most newer notebook systems come with an integrated network interface, as you can see right here. This is a RJ45 jack that allows us to connect to an Ethernet twisted pair network. In addition, most newer notebook systems, and you can't really see it because there's no real port, also include an integrated wireless network interface. And the antenna is usually hidden somewhere. Many times they actually work the antenna into one of the sides of the actual display, provide you a wireless interface to connect to a wireless network. This particular notebook system also includes a modem interface. You can connect an RJ11 plug here, connect it to a telephone jack and dial up to an ISP. This particular system also includes an infrared interface right here. This little spot right here, this little circle, is our infrared port that allows us to send and receive infrared data. This connector right here is our FireWire port. It's labeled 1394. We can connect the notebook system to FireWire device, such as an external hard drive or a digital camera. We also have our audio connectors. We have our microphone jack, our headphone jack, and our line-in jack right there. And right above those is probably one of the most important ports on your notebook system, and that's the PCMCIA slots. With a notebook system, you can't put an interface card in here. They're too big. They take up too much room. So instead, we use PCMCIA cards that allow us to customize the system to do what we want to do. For example, I have a PCMCIA card here. This one provides a network connection, so we don't actually need it because we have an integrated built-in network interface. But assuming we didn't have that, we could provide a network interface for the system by sliding a PCMCIA card into one of these slots. And then we could connect the appropriate, what we call a dongle, right there. And that provides us with a connection to a twisted pair Ethernet network. Back in the old days, if we wanted to connect a notebook system to a computer network, we had to use a PCMCIA card. Today, we don't worry about that too much because they're usually integrated. Now, the PCMCIA standard is being replaced by a new standard called PCI Express or Express card. Let's compare the PCMCIA card with the Express card devices. I have an example here. Up at the top, we have a standard PCMCIA card. This is a PCMCIA card that provides a wireless network interface for your laptop system. Down here, by way of comparison, we have an Express card 34. And this card provides an SATA 2 interface if you want to connect an external SATA device. As you can see, if we look at the ends, the width of the card is dramatically narrower as compared to a PCMCIA card. And down here we have another example of an Express card. This is an Express card 54 device, and it's used to connect a card reader to your laptop. Now, notebook systems need to provide a lot of different services within a very confined physical amount of space. As such, most notebook systems provide removable drive bays. For example, if we need to use a CD-ROM drive or a DVD-ROM drive, we can insert that particular drive into the system and use it. If, for example, we need a floppy disk drive, we can remove the CD or DVD drive and insert a floppy disk drive in its place. You can see an example of this right here. This is a DVD-ROM drive. If we needed to use a floppy disk drive, we can use this lever right here to pop the DVD drive out and put a floppy disk drive in. In addition, this notebook system also has an extra connector right here. This is a TV out connector. If I wanted to display the notebook screen on a TV so I could give a presentation, well, then I could connect an S-video connector right here into a television and display the output on a TV screen. Again, be sure you can identify each of these different types of connectors by sight. More than likely on your A+ exam, they're going to show a picture and you're going to have to look at it and say, okay, that is a mini FireWire port on a notebook system, or that is an S-video connector that's used to connect a notebook system to a television.